So we're here at a place called Enterprise Park in Chattanooga, right next to the Volkswagen factory. And we are riding mountain bikes together as a family. And what this video is about is really just a little encouragement for parents of small children or maybe older children. And it's basically about how late in life my children learned how to ride bikes. So we live in a very hilly neighborhood, and right in front of our house there's cars that come super fast around the corner, and it's just basically nothing about it is conducive for riding bikes. And because the garage is a workshop, we used to store the kids' bikes underneath the house, which is kind of a pain. And because it's Chattanooga, the heat and the humidity is super high. And so our kids basically, the last time we just bought these mountain bikes, but before this, the last time they rode bikes was like 2 years ago, and they all were using training wheels because they had barely had a chance to practice at all. And so literally my 8-year-old was using training wheels. And when he would spend time with other friends, and we would spend time with other friends, we kind of felt like terrible parents because our kids were so far behind in this particular area. There's my 6-year-old Polly. And what we had to sort of teach ourselves is that it's related to the environment in which they were growing up. And there were other things that they knew how to do, like use a drill or a saw in the workshop, but they were just really behind in bikes. And so we just bought mountain bikes for the kids and for us. And literally in one afternoon, with almost no coaching at all from my wife and I, all 3 kids taught themselves how to ride bikes. They figured out the balance, they figured out the controls, they figured out the brakes, everything. And one of the things that my wife and I have discussed over the years and thought about is how, you might be able to teach a 10-year-old algebra if you put in, tons and tons and tons and tons of hours and effort. But if you just wait like 2 years when their brain is developed, then they learn algebra fairly quick. And same thing with bikes. I mean, parents tend to get into these competitions of what their kids can do at certain ages. And, it may be exciting to get your children into that next phase of life where they're doing something that they can't yet do. But it might also be too soon. And it might be too soon for your children, or maybe all children. And if you just wait a little bit, if you're patient, then with almost no effort at all, they'll learn the same thing that you were hoping they would learn several years ago. So all I wanted to say was, if you're a parent and you're worried about your kids' development in reading or writing or speaking or cycling or hand-eye coordination or anything like that, just recognize that some of the standards that we see in the world are recent standards, may not apply to your child. And just because the school system says they're supposed to be doing a certain thing by a certain age, or just because your neighbor's kids do a certain thing by a certain age, doesn't mean that your kids need to, and doesn't mean that they can't catch up very quickly. And so here we are, we're getting ready to do some trails, but basically within 1 week of teaching them how to ride bicycles, we're now doing trails with bumps and jumps and bridges and roots and rocks and all sorts of things. So even though we had a slow start, we're having a quicker finish. And so I just want to encourage you, hey baby, I just want to encourage you as a parent not to be too hard on yourself. You definitely want to challenge your kids, and you never want to encourage laziness, but just recognize the circumstances under which you're raising the children. Cut yourself some slack, maybe wait a few months and try the hobby or the activity again if it feels like it's just too much. Take care.